This is my third attempt to make this video. I won't bore you with the problems I've had, but I'm just praying again the phone doesn't ring in the middle of it. Right, look at this book here, the record guide, published 1951. It's a big book. What's it about? Well, it's actually a review, a buyer's guide to classical recordings of classical music available at that time, most of them of course being on 78. And you can see from the contents here that the record guide itself runs from page 37 to page 696. That's a lot of pages. And what I'm seeking to demonstrate here to you is that although we might look at 78 recordings now as being rather crude and old-fashioned and primitive, they were at the time considered very seriously, and a lot of serious music was recorded on them by big names of the day, and the critical examination of the output was very sophisticated. Now there's an addenda here for records released in the latter part of 1950, but notice also underneath there's an appendix covering long playing records which had only really just come on the market, and their review of those catalogues of classical music on LP only runs to tens of pages compared to hundreds of pages for the 78. So it's an interesting insight to the way things were. And in fact, if you read the texts by the editors and contributors to this, they, even at this stage, can't envisage a point at which the 78 record will become redundant because there's so much good material available on them. I'm going to home in on the entries for Haydn. And as you would expect, because of course as a composer he produced massive amounts of material, there's a lot here about him. Some interesting write-up on his career and general output, then a section on orchestral music, and of course it being Haydn, concertos, a significant section on chamber music, and particularly string quartets, of which Haydn is the acknowledged father of the genre. This is what I want to draw your attention to. This paragraph here: the 8 volumes of the Haydn Quartet Society contain 29 of these works of quartets, evenly distributed over the whole field, all played by the Pro Arte quartet in perfect style, and the recordings made between 1932 and 1940 maintain a high level of excellence. Volumes 1 and 2 have been pointlessly deleted, but volumes 3 to 8 are still available, and this is what we have here: the Haydn Quartet Society, Volume 4. Now, we looked at albums earlier with the Dvorak symphonic dances, but these society issues were only available in complete sets. You had to subscribe to buy the full set of records in the album, and if you had the misfortune of breaking one, you had to take the broken one back to the shop as evidence that you'd already purchased it once to get a replacement. They're all on the red label, which was the premium label for HMV Serious Music, and I'm going to play one movement. I'll just pause while I shift position. Now, the movement I'm going to play is the slow movement, which is the third movement, the Adagio, in the Quartet in F minor, Opus 20, number 5. It's one of my favourite slow movements, and I know that we do have some string players amongst the Cheery tuners, and I know you'll find it interesting to hear the Pro Arte Quartet playing this, to hear what a recording of a string quartet sounded like in the 1930s, and get an insight into the playing style of the period. I'd be very interested to hear what you think about it. Here it is anyway. I love that movement. I think it's one of my favourites, certainly. Well, what do you make of that, Cheery tuners, especially the string players? You have to sort of learn to listen through the hiss and scratch of the recordings of the day to what's behind them, and having listened to a lot of music on old records, I've sort of developed that knack, so I don't hear it perhaps as much as someone unfamiliar with them might do, and find that distracting. But anyway, there it is for what it's worth. Bit of a change of diet again for the cheery tunes, but a change is as good as a rest. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.